Alright, so keeping in mind that the character that we want is a person who didn't exist, who lived in at least a country that did and does exist, it's best if we find something that makes sense in a historical point of view. However, he is also a lesser noble, you'll remember. And the problem with this is that nobles are known by their location. The character Robert on Downton Abbey was not someone with the last name of Grantham. He was Lord Grantham because Grantham is the place for which he was the Baron. Likewise, we need to find a place which doesn't exist but could plausibly. Sounds like it does. The way that nobles work is simply that you have their name, which we need to get, and we have their location, which we also need to get. These are obviously related, and as I started going through names and stuff, trying to find something which I like for high villain type mad scientist, lesser noble, what we need is someplace that actually could be there. Now, like we've discussed before, England and Germany are really popular choices for steampunk things because the cultures really work for it very easily. And what I ended up with looking for a character, thinking about various fictional and non-fictional people that I've heard of and come across, is that well, I came up with a bunch of names and I went through Italian, Latin, English, and German, and then I tried to put them all together, and that really didn't work. What I need to do is decide basically where he's from, and that will help me decide what to call him, since doing it the other way around clearly wasn't working. So what we're going to be doing instead is we will make some decisions about where he's from, and then we'll try to build a name off of that. We're still not really locked in because nobles tend to name their kids whatever they want from wherever they want. And there's a lot of characters from history and literature in the nobility that you'll find named with names that are from nowhere near where you would think. You'll find, for example, Latin-based names throughout England. So that's not as much of a problem as you might imagine. Part of the problem, my main problem, is figuring out where he's actually from. He's going to be Lord so-and-so, and if I don't know where so-and-so happens to be, then we have a problem. Now, I asked my girl, because she is much more experienced in coming up with plausible real-world people. Mostly my experience in naming things is for fantastical or otherwise non-existent places, and it doesn't really matter so much if you mix things up a bit. You can have the flavor of something without having something that could reasonably be there, because I made up a name or I used one that just happened to fit. Well, she's better at this sort of thing, and she pointed me in a lot of good directions, which I will see about pointing you in the direction of down in the description there. And we'll be able to get several hundred, if not a few thousand, options based on where you want to be and what you want to be. Didn't help me very much with deciding what the location was, though. I discarded England right off the bat because it's too easy, and it's also too well known. You see, aside from the name, I'm going to also have to work on an accent for this thing. He's a lord, and therefore American is right out. Since I'm American, that means my natural accent is right out. I've lived several places, and accents come fairly easily to me. So we'll see about making that work. So also, it's worth noting that an accent can vary as well. The English BBC accent, RP, which stands for Received Pronunciation, is not a natural accent. It is the upper class accent, which is put together essentially generalization, obviously, and anyone from Britain who's listening to this knows that I'm really doing some serious shorthand to say it that way. But the long and the short of it is this. I don't want to do an English accent except for RP. I could go with the German accent. I very much enjoy German accents. I find the Bavarian to be very pleasant for myself. I find Austrian to be absurdly easy to do. You know, I could perhaps even do Swiss. After all, we're working with a clockmaker. But I think what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to go with Scottish, which will give me, in fact, I'll go with Highland Scots. We may discuss accents another time. There's at least 3 major types of Scottish accent. I'll be working with the Highland, which is probably the oddest to American ears, but is easiest to work with for me for a variety of reasons. If we have a Highland noble, what we also very well may have, considering, remember, we're working with late 1800s, is someone who has been educated in England. And this means that I can do RP, or if I wish, I can slip into a Scottish accent, and I can work that into the character and make some interesting things out of that. I will probably do another sort of English accent. I have a fondness for the southwestern accents in particular, and I'll probably work that into another character, and I almost certainly will come up with a German one or 2 along the way. But for this one, I'm going to be doing Scottish. Now, what I needed was a place that is a place that exists. I want a name that actually exists, but without the actual peerage to get things confused. And there is an area in the Highlands through which flows a river called Blackwater. It goes by Glen Shee, which means Fairies Glen, and by a couple of castles, one of which is hard to find any useful information on because it was renovated and made into apparently a really great hotel to visit or rent out for weddings or whatever, but it is also dated back to the 16th century. I don't know very much about it, and neither probably does anybody else. So I can actually borrow that, and with any luck, add a little bit to their fame as well if things go extremely well. But in the meantime, I have that name in case I need to mention where I live. I have Blackwater as the location, as it is a stream, but it actually exists, and it is a particular location, and therefore I can call him Lord Blackwater, having invented a barony on the spot just like that. Unfortunately, I still don't have an actual name for him. I'm debating a lot on that, and we'll see what I come up with as far as that goes.